Okay, I have the pleasure of introducing Derek Smith. Who knows Derek Smith? And if you don't know him, you might know him as the Unacceptable Fringe. Woo! So Derek is on YouTube. If you haven't seen him, you need to start seeing him. He's got about 160,000 followers, and he should have more. He's been working hard for 30 years. He's got 20 years of marketing experience, and he's here today to give us some great information. So, Derek, get on up here.
Thank you very much, sir. How's everybody doing?
Stay still.
You guys having fun yet? No rain, that's a good thing. I am so shocked when I look out here, just the faces I see, the turnout all the way to the back of that parking lot. It's almost like one big family, isn't it?
You look awesome on the camera, by the way.
What?
You guys look awesome on the camera.
One big family of people with one shared vision. A free and fair Alberta. One free of Ottawa's grip. I'm assuming it's safe to say that everybody who's here today is signing up on October 19th to separate or push the referendum forward. Love hearing it. You know, Mark Carney thinks it's a bluff. He thinks we're bluffing. Are you bluffing? No. Sorry, what? You bluffing? No. Are we ready to go? Yeah. Ready to get the hell out of here? Yeah. Are you ready to have more money in your pockets? Yeah. Are you ready to enjoy your life? Yeah. Are you ready to pave the road for the next generations? Yeah. I sure as hell am. And I'll tell you, that's what got me here. A year ago, roughly a year ago, I was told to go to my first APP meeting. And I met Mitch Sylvester and Jeff Rath for the first time. And they said, what would push you towards independence in Alberta? And I said, my wife and I are fine. We've got everything we need. We've done well for ourselves. I have 3 kids that when they grow up, they're going to say it's too expensive to have a family, so I might not get grandkids. They're never going to be able to afford a home, because by that time they'll probably be $2 million. They'll live with us forever, and then they'll fight over the scraps when we're gone. Now, I've had family for generations say that Alberta would be better as its own country, and that Alberta needs to get away from Ottawa's grip. And now we have Pierre Poilievre, Mark Carney, Danielle Smith, Naheed Nenshi, Thomas Lukaszuk, all campaigning against us, the grassroots, to tell us that you should be grateful for what the government gives you. The question we have to start asking ourselves is, what the hell does the government give us? What are we grateful for? I don't know about you guys, but I like my vote meaning something. Every time I get home, the election's already called and the polls are still open in Alberta. All I'm doing is putting a butt in a seat. That's not a democracy. Every time I got a paycheck, I had to give 40% of it to the government, while Mark Carney jets around the world eating braised beef and luxury butter. And I'm told to be grateful for that. Don't you dare sign to leave. Janet Jackson once had a song in the 1980s called, "What Have You Done For Me Lately?" Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So when Pierre Poilievre comes here this summer to the Stampede grounds, and he's flipping pancakes, if you're in Calgary, stand in line. Go to his Stampede breakfast. And when you get to the front, tell him that the reason you're there is because he had the gall to help ruin the economy with all the other federalists, and you can't afford to eat. So you're there for a free handout. But Alberta's not looking for handouts anymore. We want to get our hands dirty. We want to work. We want to be prosperous. This October, each and every one of you has a job to play when it comes down to this vote. Each of you needs to get 2 people. 2, small number. 2 people that don't side with independence, that are prepared to send Ottawa a message, October 19th. Now, they don't have to want independence. They don't have to want for us to leave Canada. What they have to be is fed up with the government. Because I'll tell you right now, folks, if we come up short on October 19th, Ottawa's really going to stick the boots to Alberta. They're going to come back with a vengeance and say, we told you, you should have stayed quiet. And I don't know about you, but I don't want that. For all the people who sit and complain to you and say you're committing treason, you're a terrible person, you should be grateful for your maple flag. Our ancestors died for this flag. I don't think that our ancestors who fought in wars did so for us to kneel to Ottawa and pay them every dime that we have in our pockets. What you have to start saying to these people when they say you're committing treason, how's your life now? Is it better than it was 5 years ago? Is it better than it was 10 years ago? Do you think the way things are headed right now, it's going to get better? And if they do like Mark Carney and give you a whole bunch of word salad, ask them the very simple question. If Alberta was already its own sovereign state, its own country, and Canada wanted you to sign up to join the current economic state of this country, would you vote to join Canada? Most people would say no. There are some that just love their punishment. But one of the important questions you have to ask people when they say that you're committing treason, that you're a terrible person, that you shouldn't have an opinion, you should just follow the status quo, how do you suppose we got here? A couple of years ago, 5 years ago, you'd hear farm communities talking about separation. You'd never hear it in the cities. People weren't open to it. They said, I love my country. I was one of those people glued to the TV during the Freedom Convoy, saying this is our last chance as a country to get our grip. It's our last chance to bring back the Canada we once knew. It doesn't exist anymore. Justin Trudeau made sure that you knew that Canada is nothing more than nostalgia. So we keep and preserve what part of that Canada is left in Alberta by packing our bags and getting away from Ottawa. And if we don't, you're only going to get the one shot. We'll never get it again. So when you go home and you think, well, I don't want to offend my neighbor, I don't want to offend my friends, I'm worried about my job and what they're going to say, think about what your life's going to be like if you don't talk to them about the October vote. If you don't ask them, how's your life right now? Can you afford groceries? Can you afford your utility bills? Can you afford to fill up your vehicle? What happens if you lose your job tomorrow? Can you easily find another one? Most people will say no to all of those. So the real question to ask them is, so then why do we stay? Why do we stay here? What's the benefit? And if people want to talk about nostalgia and they want to talk about a flag, what part of that exists anymore if we have to live on our knees and be working poor for the rest of our lives? We have $1 trillion of oil and gas underneath our feet. We should not be suffering in this province. Those resources need to be drilled up. As President Trump says, drill, baby, drill. We need to get it out. We need to get to other markets. And if the Canadian government doesn't want to work with us, then we find other partners. But when those people you speak to say, I'm just not ready yet, and I don't like your approach, I don't like your attitude, again, how did we go from a country where we were all unified, where we all loved our flag, where we all waved the maple leaf and were proud of it, to a position where we're now ready to leave? What pushed us that far? Because the question, are you ready to pick up your province and leave Canada? Pretty big question. That's a pretty big question to ask people. Are you prepared to be responsible for the destruction of Canada? I always tell people it was destroyed a long time ago. We're just taking what's left and going home. So when people want to argue with you and say that you're wrong or you don't make any sense or that you're committing treason, why do you suppose I have these values? Why do you suppose I want to leave? What got me to the point I'm ready to sign that X on the ballot to say that I'm prepared for Alberta to leave Canada? I don't know about you guys, I still carry a Canadian passport. One time. Everybody gets one vote. Somebody should tell the First Nations that. But when you put that X down, that's a pretty big decision to make. A very costly decision to make. What you have to do now, what your obligation is now, as a free-loving citizen of Alberta, is to convince your friends, your neighbors, your co-workers, it's not a cult, it's not some small fringe minority. We're all Albertan. And we want a free and fair world where we can thrive, we can work, we can pay our bills, and at the end of the day, folks, we have a couple dollars left over to give to the next generation and hope for the best for them. I sat in an interview with Premier Danielle Smith, and I asked her, give me one reason for us to stay in Canada. The Premier said to me, I don't know if you'll reflect on any of the reasons I give you. So she said, let me ask you a question. Why do you want to leave Alberta? I only had 20 minutes with her. I said, I don't think we could get this interview done if I tell you all the reasons I want to go. And she says, I'm sad to hear that. And I said the same thing to her. How do you think we got here, though? How did we get here? Not with MOUs, not with COVID. We got here with an authoritarian government that went from pushing policy to starting to think they could dictate where we go, what we eat, who we see, who we speak to, where we travel, where we live, where we work, what we can say online. Well, if that's your jam. At the end of the day, folks, there is no good reason to stay in Canada. And it's not because we're not Canadian. It's not because we hate Canada. I don't know about you, I love the people of this country while we're still a part of it. There's fantastic people from the BC coast all the way to Newfoundland. And some of them are vying for our independence. A lot of them are begging for us to get our independence because the status quo changes at the table. As soon as we separate, BC has to work with us. They don't have a choice. As soon as we separate, Ottawa has to frack our minerals or they die off. All that happens is we've gone from playing a game of cards where the deck is stacked to having an equal hand at the table and a good pair to push against the government. We changed the status quo. Nobody's going to pick up Alberta and move it out of Canada. But Canada either has to work with us or it's time for them to shut down while we prosper. The time for bureaucratic, sweaty, fat pigs at a trough is over. Alberta is pro-people. It's pro-constituents. We have the opportunity to rewrite a new constitution, one that holds our politicians accountable, one that says if you're not doing your job, you get the hell out of here. If you're stealing money, if you're flying around the world eating braised beef and luxury butter, we have the right to throw your butt in the curb. Because the one message those politicians in Ottawa don't seem to realize, you work for us, not the other way around. We are not your credit card. Alberta is not your bank account. And we're done with the status quo. So October 19th, you all have that job now to ensure 2 people each at that ballot box. Nobody watches them. Nobody's going to fire them. Nobody's going to know unless they tell everybody how they voted. October 19th, we send a message to Ottawa. This is too big to fail. Thank you.